Hello, I am Michaela,
I'm Audrey.
and we are here today just chit-chatting about some spooky paranormal stuff. We both have a nice little drink. I've got some oolong tea. Audrey's got...
I have pumpkin cream cold brew from Starbucks that I poured into this mug because I just wanted an excuse to use this mug.
Yes, I understand. We've got our drinks. We're sisters. We're very far apart, very interested in the paranormal, and we just don't really often get to explore it, so we decided why not do the sort of format where people just like talk about paranormal stuff. Occasionally maybe we'll like go out into the field whenever we're near each other, but we're several states apart and it's coronavirus. Just coronavirus, so we can't.
Coronavirus.
Today we're just kind of doing a test. We're going to be talking about just kind of a spooky experience each of us had. I tried to think of one that I hadn't told you. I don't know about you.
I tried to think of one I hadn't told you too. I don't know if I've told you this or not.
I'm not sure if I've told you this, but while I was doing some more research into it yesterday, there was some development. So this is not quite paranormal. I feel like it was paranormal. It might have just been me getting psyched out. About 2 years ago, when Nick and I, my fiance, first moved out here, someone that we were quite close with that we lived near in New York passed away very suddenly. So we felt like we had to go to the funeral, and the funeral was taking place in Alabama. We drove from Ohio down to Alabama. And the highway, I say highway, from Tennessee into Alabama was kind of like back roads, farmland, like one lane, no street lights. Really kind of creepy. We were kind of on edge. It was a weird time going down there for a very sudden funeral. So as we were driving in, we just crossed into Alabama. It was pretty. There were these farms everywhere. I was just looking out the window. And then I saw this house. And it was this old broken down farmhouse. There were a couple of buildings near it, and there was this white house, this pretty small house, and there was a window in the top of the house, like an attic. And I looked into that window, and it felt like there was something evil staring back at me. And I felt sick to my stomach physically as we were just driving past this house. And I was like so freaked out. It literally felt like there was someone in there staring at me. Like something really mean, angry that I was looking at it. It was so creepy. And I felt ill, which I don't usually like. I psych myself out. I really can get myself very worked up.
Nervous.
I am a very nervous, anxious person, but I don't usually get to the point where I actually feel like I'm gonna vomit. Like, I felt that sick to my stomach. So when we were driving back from the funeral, we drove past the house again. I was kind of nervous. When we drove past it the second time, I wasn't that creeped out. But I found it on Google Earth, and I took some screenshots of it to show our paranormal group. I know you, Audrey, haven't really ever investigated with them, but you're part of the Facebook group. We have a small paranormal Facebook group that I've been part of since college. So let me show you, Audrey. This is the screenshot that I took 2 years ago. Oh, you disabled screen sharing.
Hold on.
Okay, so here you can see kind of, it's hard to see in this image. Honestly, these pictures here were taken in 2008.
Wow.
So it had been this way for at least 10 years. You can kind of see here that top window.
Oh my god, I hate it.
Here's
How do I
where it
hate
gets
it already?
It's so weird. It's very strange. I don't know anything about this house. I don't know if the house is like owned by someone. Like, I don't know if it's abandoned and you could just walk in and investigate. Like, there are normal farmhouses and obviously tilled farmland near it. It's very weird. So yesterday when I was thinking about this and preparing, I was like, you know what, let me just go on Google Earth again and just check. And there's an updated picture from 2018 when we drove past it. So here it is from the street. And I was looking at it, and I zoomed in a little bit, and I was like, it looks like there's something in that window. So I zoomed in more. There's a vulture sitting in that window. There, look at it. There's a vulture sitting in the window. That is the window that I thought something was looking out. And I went literally yesterday, and this was taken the same year that we drove past it. And I didn't know it. I didn't see. Isn't that crazy?
Okay, that is
It's
literally
so
the craziest thing ever, but also, Michaela, what the fuck is screenshotted over there with the fruit and the...
Okay. So this is from Unis Honest. It's a melon man. Isn't that
really
insane?
Funny, that is and that's the same window that you felt like something was
That's the
looking...
same window.
That's crazy.
And it's like
that's
I've
like
gotten,
actually crazy. I am shooketh right now.
I don't know. Like I've gotten weird feelings before, like spooky feelings, but this one was just so immediately. I felt something looking at me in that window. It felt evil. It felt angry. It felt like I shouldn't be looking at it. My stomach got sick.
Yeah.
And then this same year, I see just the vulture. Like, when do you see a vulture sitting in a window of an abandoned house? I've never seen that before.
What are the odds of that? The odds, the same window, the same house, and the year that you had visited, like, that is so crazy to me. And, like, I will just say, you said, like, I don't usually get, like, feelings and like stuff like that, but you totally do. Like all the time we will go places and you're like, I got a headache, like all of a sudden. That happens to you a lot, and like you've had like physical reactions to things that upset. Like remember when you threw up from watching Haunting in Connecticut?
Yeah, so I watched the movie and then I felt sick, and then the morning later I threw up and nobody else was ill. But
I think you have strong emotional responses. I don't think that's like being overly dramatic. I think your body can recognize things that are unsettling and responds to them physically.
That's kind of what I was trying to say. I'm like, I don't just like get super freaked out for no reason usually. That's kind of what I meant.
Right.
I didn't articulate that well enough, but it's really creepy, and I like would love to say it would be a fun place to investigate, but I don't know it would. I have no idea what the history of the house is. It's definitely, it looks like for now,
it looks very
maybe
random.
20 years. Who knows? Maybe longer. And there are like barns in the back you can kind of see. There's got to be no one living there.
No way. But like, I have to say, like, I mean, you built it up really well, obviously, but also just looking at the pictures immediately, like, I was like, ugh. Like, it looks like a movie set. It's insane, and that vulture is literally unbelievable. Like, I am shook. And it's
like when I
interesting
texted you?
Yeah, you told me the first half of the story. I never got the second half with the vulture, though, and that's...
Because I discovered it yesterday when I texted you, and I was like, hey, I just found something out more even creepy about the creepy thing I was going to tell you. And it's weird because I forgot about this, but then the other like day when I can't remember what it was. I think because I went out to our parents' cabin, kind of in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, and I think that trip just kind of reminded me of it because we were driving through a lot of like farmlands. There were a lot of abandoned houses out there, none that felt like super creepy. But it just reminded me of, oh yeah, remember that time? And I looked it up and I was like, are you kidding me? There's a vulture in that window. What? So
that's amazing. That's
really
crazy.
Weird. And I'm sure I could try to look up records for the house. It doesn't look like it, like maybe latest, or like I should say the earliest, it could be like an early 1800s house. It's got a tin roof, which is interesting. So I don't know, like I might be able to find some records on it. It's a small town in Alabama.
How long is the drive from Cincy to Alabama?
Hours.
Many hours.
We did it in one day. I think it was 5 or 6. We stopped in Nashville.
That's not that bad. We might have to go check it out sometime.
I mean, I just worry
the thing
about...
is, too, it might be actually somebody's property, but if we could look into it proper and understand. But that brings up a really great question. Like, how do we find this information about these houses? I recently went and did some digging to try and find out anything about this house, which I'm going to talk about, but, like, I don't know how to do that.
So what I did for Mom and Dad's house because our parents have an old house that was built in like 1923. I first started looking at the Sanborn maps, which are maps that were done across America. I don't know if they were done elsewhere, and they are maps for fire insurance. Basically, they did a record of all buildings, and they said like what the material was made of. They had maps of all these cities, and how much of a risk it was that the building would catch on fire. So I use that because that can, if I don't know the age of the house, I think most of them were done like early 1900s. So if it's on that map, I know, okay, so it's at least this old. I also will sometimes look at censuses, because if you do, I can't remember exactly how I did it for Mom and Dad. I think I found one of the names of the owners, and I looked them up, and I found out when they lived in the house based on the census years.
Yeah.
I've also looked in phone books. Yeah, you remember me going down that hole. I very easily
really amazing.
go down
It was crazy
holes.
though. Like I was just sitting next to you, watching you do all this stuff, and like you found so much information, and I have since tried to do that myself. I can't do it. Like you have a knack for that. But
Also
I think,
patience.
yeah,
Just
well,
a lot of looking through nonsense, and also a lot of scanned documents are not entirely translated correctly, or they may have written something incorrectly. Like
that's one of the things that I actually like. I had a whole independent study. I spent an entire semester transcribing historic documents. I don't know if I ever talked to you about this, but like theoretically I was trained in that. So like if you ever have something that you're looking at, you should hit me up because
oh gosh, yeah, I'm terrible
it.
at the reading old handwriting. I'm very bad at it. I actually, when I was at work, when I used to work at the theater before coronavirus, I worked with a bunch of people who were school teachers. And so sometimes if I couldn't read a record, I'd ask them. And they usually got it, because school teachers have to read all different types of handwriting, especially with like little kids. So if you're a school teacher and you want a fun side job, maybe transcribing old documents, I don't know.
Most of it's volunteer work. I wanted to do it, but it's mostly volunteer based. I did a couple for the Smithsonian, but it's, you know, it's good stuff. But anyway.
Yeah, what's your spooky story?
You know, I was just going to talk a little bit about this house that I live in.
Oh, you're actually, okay.
Yeah.
Here, let me refill my tea. My tea. So, the house you're living in, I've been in it a few times. It's got a creepy old vibe, but what specifically?
So, it's interesting. I've lived in this house for like probably a year and a half, and I actually have never felt super duper creeped out by it before, but weird little things have happened here and there that just don't make sense, and I've told you about much of these, but this first one I actually remembered the other day, and I don't know if I ever told anybody about this.
I love when you suddenly like connect weird happenings going on.
Isn't it weird? It's like all of a sudden you think about it and you're like, wait, that happened. But basically, I moved in here in February. So it was winter, obviously, lots of snow, and one morning it snowed, and I was just like looking out my window, kind of looking at all of the pretty scenery, you know how you do. Mm-hmm. And when looking out at the front of my house, there is this staircase that comes from the road and leads up to the front of the house. But as you know, Michaela, nobody uses that entrance because the front of, like, our front doors are on the opposite side of the home, basically.
Yeah.
And it is a house, but it's separated into 3 units, 3 apartments. But at the time, nobody else really lived there. There's a guy who lives here kind of part-time, and then the people who lived downstairs had recently moved out. So I'm looking out the window, and like I said, it had just snowed. I see on my staircase, the staircase that's super old, nobody uses. It's not even that functional because of how old and worn down it is. There are footsteps coming up the staircase in the snow. And I remember like looking at it for a second and thinking it was weird, not only because it was like 5 a.m, during like after a crazy snowstorm, but also because nobody lived downstairs. Nobody even used that door to get in, like, that entrance. It doesn't make sense because it's, like, in the middle of the road. It's not even off of a driveway. So it doesn't make sense, especially in the dead of winter, for someone to enter from that direction. Nobody could be walking around because, like I said, there had just been a big snowstorm. So you wouldn't, unless you're an idiot trying to get murdered by a snowplow.
Yeah, in Connecticut, if you're not from New England, snow.
It's not pleasant, and you don't want to be out in it, especially that early in the morning after a night of snowstorms. So I looked at these footsteps and I like saw them. They went like around the house. And I remember thinking it was really, really weird, but I had just moved in and I wasn't trying to get myself like all worked up because obviously it's easy to be like, oh, there's a ghost.
That's so spooky.
It is.
I would just think that someone was like walking around the house trying to break in.
Right. Well,
that's so creepy.
I guess that is something that crossed my mind at some point, but I was like, you know, who's stupid enough to do that?
To try and break in,
yeah.
Because it's not like sometimes when the power's out, people will try to break into your house. But, like, the power didn't go out, right?
Right.
So.
No. And, like, there is a guy who comes and shovels, but he came, like, 2 hours later. And, like I said, it wasn't even light out yet. So he wouldn't have come to kind of scope things out because he couldn't even see and the storm hadn't really finished. And they were literal footsteps, and I don't know if I have pictures of them. I feel like, knowing me, I probably did. So if I have pictures, I will show them here. But if I don't have pictures, I'll just show the staircase and show how impractical it is to use, because that is enough to indicate how weird it was that these footsteps appeared. So that's weird. Another thing that happened that you know a lot about, I'm convinced my bathroom is haunted. And it's so weird because that happened and that was weird. But like I said, the rest of the house has never really creeped me out in any kind of meaningful way, except the bathroom. I have one bathroom and there has been a couple incidents. So the first time, I was peeing. I was peeing a little bit, you know. And I was like... I was in a rush. I was getting to class and I was late. So I'm whatever, doing my thing. And I very, very intentionally do not let my cats into my bathroom because they are chaotic and crazy, but I do have 2 cats. And so I was in there and the door was shut, the cats were outside, and I'm sitting there, whatever. And all of a sudden, I hear a rustling noise. And I'm, like I said, in a rush. You know when you're really stressed and you're not necessarily paying attention to things. So anyway, yeah, I hear the rustling noise and I look up and I can see the shower curtain shaking as if somebody was on the other side of the shower curtain, which was completely covering the bathtub, as if... Bless you.
Thank you.
It was as if someone literally took it and rattled it. Like, it wasn't subtle. It wasn't like a breeze. It was like somebody shook it.
It's like nightmare.
And furthermore, it was enough of a shake for me to hear it. So everyone who's like, oh, it was just like the wind, which it wasn't. But like, to hear a shower curtain moving, that is some substantial movement.
And you weren't next to the shower curtain.
No, and I can take a picture of this too, but the way my bathroom is, it's like the door is over here, the tub is over here, and the bathroom is right there. So you're sitting right across, basically staring at the shower curtain, but there's a good few feet in between, so there's no way for me to like even reach out and touch it. So I see and hear this, and I'm like, what do? I be here sitting on the toilet? Like, what the hell? But so I got up super quick. So I got up and I didn't turn my back to the shower, so I like literally stood up and like walked out of the bathroom. And then I was like out of the bathroom, I had closed the door and I was staring at it like, what do I even do? Because that was something. There was something in there. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, I don't go straight to ghost town. I'm like, is there like a rat or like something like that that's gonna be like a problem? Let's pull ourselves together. And I brought my cats in with me. I said,
if it's a rat.
Maybe if it's a rat or a mouse, then they'll help me.
Yeah.
And also, they'll make me feel less spooked out.
Yeah.
So I went in and I pulled the shower curtain open, and as you probably assumed, there was literally nothing there. And I was so freaked out that I actually took a video and I sent it to you. Do you remember that? I was in my car.
You in the car, you're like, Michaela, I cannot believe it. You're driving. It's a 2-minute long video.
I was on my way to school and I was concerned and I really wanted to tell Michaela about it because I'm like, that was crazy. And you can just tell how frazzled I am in that video.
Yeah.
It was insane. And I had one other experience in that bathroom recently that I don't know if I even told you about this.
Maybe.
But I was in there and the door is ridiculous. You have to really tug on it to close it, and but once it's there, it's actually hard to open the door. And I can take a video of this too, demonstrating how annoying
it's an old door.
Yeah, and I'll so I was in there and I had closed the door like you do, and I think I was doing my makeup, so I was kind of facing the mirror, the vanity, whatever, and I'm doing my makeup, and then I'm good to go, and I turn and the door was just open, gaping open.
You didn't hear it open?
I didn't hear it open.
That's spooky. And you definitely closed it.
I had to have, because I never want the cats in the bathroom with me. And like I said, it's not the kind of door that will just casually it's a chore to open that door. So that was weird.
Yeah, it gets kind of stuck. You kind of have to lift it. It's like an old door. It's been painted white a bunch of times. It's just sticky and humid.
The door handle is silver on one side and gold on the other side.
Yeah, it's old.
So I did finally look up this house the other day, and it was actually built in 1861.
Okay.
So she real old. And I am really interested to do some more legitimate research on the genesis of this home, because it's definitely always been a 3-unit house, and it's probably always been I wouldn't say a lower income home, but there was a factory nearby. Mm-hmm. So the factory workers lived up in this area, and I think that there was probably a lot of turnover. A lot of people probably have lived here. It's an apartment. That's how it goes.
And it's right near a river.
Yes.
Because the factory is built on the river, so it's on the other side of the river. I don't know, people say flowing water, just the same as train tracks can kind of be a conduit.
And there were train tracks here too, actually, yeah. Michaela. There were train tracks. There's a river, and that specific river was and is now again going to be used to generate electricity. They're putting a whole turbine-y whatever.
I think I saw
hydropower.
Pictures of the construction. So actually, the last time Audrey and I did a little investigation, the one cemetery that we went to where we really got creepy vibes, and we may have actually caught an EVP, is not that far from your house, right?
It's right down the street, and it's probably the one that anyone who lived in this area would have used. It's very small, but this home is also interesting because there's a hiking trail right behind it. Mm-hmm. And that hiking trail actually used to be a ski mountain. I don't know if you know this, Michaela. No. It was a ski mountain, and if you go on the hiking trail, you can actually see the equipment that was used for... Spooky. Yeah, and actually, I almost thought this was a crazy story, because the other day when I was just sitting on my porch having tea, there were some dumb people about to go hiking up this trail, and I could hear them because it's literally right behind my house. Yeah. And one woman was like, "Oh my god, this place is scary. Did you hear the story about what happened here?" And I was like, what? So I do some research, and apparently a girl got stuck in the I forgot what the freaking word is, but the chairs that they use to bring you to the top of the mountain. The lift. She got stuck in it. Her hair got pulled into it, completely scalped her. She survived though.
Oh my gosh.
Happened, I think in the 70s or the 80s. But she survived, so, like, I don't really know what that woman was talking about, if it was that story or if there's more creepy history in this area. But like I said, it's right behind my house, and I don't know, there's just, like, a lot of weirdness going on here. So that's, like, that's my chaotic and kind of scrambled story. I just think that this is an interesting area with a lot of weird happenings, but like I said, I don't feel, like, creeped out. Like, I don't feel uncomfortable. I think there's just a lot of people have lived here, and in my opinion, that would generate a lot of activity.
So our aunt used to live in a house down the street.
Yeah.
And then I actually grew up a little bit further away. I lived in one of those little houses for a while that we walk past when we walk to the antique store. So, and I did get a little creeped out at the aunt's house.
Kendra's old house, definitely.
That one, and it's on the same street. It's not that far from.
I could walk there in 10 seconds. Like,
it's a bit of a spooky area. It's like,
it's old. It's got a lot of history.
And I think a lot of, like, old charm. Like, it's a cute little place. People go there to downtown because it's got, like, cute little buildings and shops, and there's a scenic river and stuff. But, like, even the bar, what's it called? The one that used to be the train station.
Crown and Hammer.
Yeah. That place kind of spooks me a little bit.
Me
The bathroom, I don't know. It weirds me out. But
this whole area, like, it has so many amazing old buildings, and it has crazy history. I have lived here.
Oh my gosh, we should... grandmother's house. Speaking of haunted places, I wish we could investigate that. We can no longer. Our grandmother's old house, the attic used to be the town doctor's. It's really spooky up there. I had an object that I still have it, that for a while I thought had some hauntingness to it, but it seems to have subsided at this point.
But furthermore, that place had this, like, weird attic situation that nobody used to go into because it was creepy.
The stairs.
Our father, who is a ridiculous human being, one day decided to take it upon himself to actually crawl up into this, and it's not even the attic you're thinking of, Michaela. It was like an attic off of the garage.
That's where the camera's from, Audrey.
Oh, it is.
That's where the video camera was pulled from.
I'm thinking of her closet attic. That also had really weird energy.
That one had bad stairs. I don't even think I ever fully went up into that. When I think of that, my memory of that house is like every stereotypical haunted attic you go into, where it's like got the grayish blue light coming in, the old warm wooden beams, like antique things just stuffed into corners. Because she also really liked antiques, and like they both really liked antiques and kind of had a bunch of collections of them. So that just played. Who knows what was going on there? But that place was spooky. I didn't like sleeping there at night.
I have nightmares about that house all the time, dude.
It was, like, very creepy.
Nightmares where I go, like, back and it's just creepy and decrepit. And I'm actually glad that somebody lives there who's gonna take care of it and kind of refurbish it, just because, like, it had such bad energy and it was a depressing place to be for years. And of course there are always other reasons, you know, like, it's not necessarily the house, but I do think that it could contribute. But back to Dad's story, he found, like, medicine bottles and
smallpox
tools.
vaccine vials, specifically. They were smallpox vaccine vials.
I didn't know
a biohazard. Yes, in this tiny little wooden box. I was told not to touch it. It was a little wooden box with a sliding top. There were, like, these little glass vials. You could see there was, like, something written on paper, and I was told, like, not to touch them. I have this because I actually saw them. I have a very vague memory of seeing them and being told, don't touch it. That's going back up in the attic, basically.
Wow.
Really creepy. Very creepy. I wonder if, while they're renovating it, if there was anything spooky there.
I almost talked to them the other day. I'm not gonna lie. I was driving by and I saw people, like, outside, like the homeowners, and I almost was like, I thought, like, you know, it's not that weird if I just say, hi, like, this used to be my grandma's house. I'm happy to see you guys are doing such a great job with it. More creepy old Collinsville homes. Morgan's father's house, which she's actually in the process of getting rid of. Apparently.
Oh, why is everyone getting rid of the houses we want to check out?
I know, so
there's a reason.
Well, but that house, I mean, I had stories from there too. That house had really bad energy, and it was a general store, and there was a recorded death of a young boy there. Still don't know how he died, but he died in the general store when it was a general store. That's creepy, but I had all kinds of bad experiences there, and once again, it's the kind of home that just had negative energy and that, like, sad vibes.
Yeah.
So Collinsville is full of these things, and that's why I am sure this house has some weirdness. Like I said, don't feel uncomfortable here. I love it here.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's not like a bad sort of
town.
pushing you out of the house sort of thing.
No, and like you've been here, you don't feel weird. It's just
old. It's old. Yeah, it just feels old. It feels lived in.
Very lived. Let me tell you, it looks lived in.
All right. Well, that was our 2 spooky stories about 2 places. One which we're very familiar with, and one I drove past like for 2 seconds, and I can tell that there are vibes there. It's crazy. Why is there a vaulter in the window? Nick was like, "That's weird," but it's like not that weird. That's fucking crazy. We're gonna try to do some other things. We're still not sure what this is going to be called.
Who knows if anyone's even ever gonna watch this, but I think it's just fun to do. If you're looking for some spooky background noise, this is it. This is your spooky background noise.
Our upload is gonna be about once a month, probably towards the end of the month. So the next episode that we're probably gonna try to do, we're gonna try to do it in person, and we're going to check out the Dunham Hospital, Dunham Recreational Center near the Gurley Pest House and Farmhouse in Cincinnati, which is got a bunch of interesting history. It was a pest house or a pestilence house for a while, turned into kind of like a sanatorium, tuberculosis patients. It was an orphanage for a while, then it was a hospital, and now it's a playground. So we kind of want to go check it out. You can subscribe if you want to see that. Not sure if we're going to catch anything ghostly, but it is sure an interesting place.
We're all about the spooky history. We don't promise ghosts, but we do promise a good story. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers! Share any spooky experiences you have below. We'll read them late at night and scare ourselves. So please do share.
It's my fave.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
We won't be faking anything. Because you can tell when it's faked. All you fakers out there.
I see you out there.
Just come out like fists rolling. You're
Dude,
fake.
did you hear that?
You're fake. You're fake.
Whoa, brother.
Every thumbnail.